Thank you. Well, first of all, a very special thanks to my fellow members of the Club of Rome and speakers of the panel this afternoon, Christine and Michael and Ernst. I'm very well aware I'm encroaching somewhat on your time, so I will try to make it as short as possible. The report that I'm presenting has been accepted as a report to the Club of Rome on Sunday, and that's the reason why it comes in as a last-minute addition. It goes under the title of the Blue Economy, and it proposes that within 10 years, with only 100 innovations, we will be able to generate 100 million jobs inspired by nature. Some of you may remember my work as the founder of Ecover and the one who created in 1992 this ecological factory in Belgium. Even though I had an ecological factory and a biodegradable product, I did not realize at the time that I was the green pioneer, I did not realize that I was actually destroying the rainforest and promoting monocultures of palm plantations, eliminating the habitat of the orangutan. I did not know. And that was the reason why I started pushing myself in my mind, and I realized that biodegradation is not sustainability. Sustainability requires much more. And so I asked myself the question, what is the competitive business model we could design that permits us to have sustainability as the capacity to respond to the basic needs of all with what we have? And that's exactly the way ecosystems work. Even if you're in the Namib Desert, or if you're in the Kalahari, or you're in the Amazon, species only work with what they have. In order to respond to basic needs, we had something called the red economy, and it didn't work very well. And then we had this tremendous drive based on core business and core competence to ever go on lower marginal costs, driving us towards economies of scale. And the drive towards economies of scale led to the invention of many financial instruments in order to leverage those balance sheets. And when we couldn't leverage the balance sheets anymore, we started to create an economy based on what we did not have. That economy failed last year. For years, for decades, we have so many of the people also here in the room who've done the best we could to get the green economy going. The green economy where we were prepared to invest more to save some and pay back over time. And even in spite of all the great efforts so many people have been making, so many here in the room for whom I have so much respect, that economy never took off. Not even 1% of the world's economy today could be considered a green economy. So the question is now, not how can we have something new. We have to look at the reality around us and say, how can we do better? From what we have, let's do better. And that better, I look at it from the outside and I see this beautiful blue earth and say, we need a blue economy. Honoring and cherishing this world and building on what has been made possible by so many people in that green economy, but give it the framework conditions it can be made to work. And it means that basically, just like ecosystems always invest less, always innovate more, because natural systems are always on a pathway of evolution, generate multiple revenues, create jobs, build up social capital. And what I like to submit to the audience is that we should stimulate entrepreneurship. If we want to change that big macroeconomic scheme, we need millions of inspired entrepreneurs who are prepared to do it. The blue economy is therefore the sense of being able to make a difference in a decade. If we want to stimulate entrepreneurship to create a competitive and sustainable society, first and foremost, we need to think positive. Second, we need to be prepared to learn creative and even accept that all academic titles we have an expiration date. What we've learned 30 years ago doesn't get us to the future anymore. And third, we have to make it happen. It is impossible to be patient. We have to be impatient. Ian, you're so right. Let's not start tomorrow, let's start today. This requires a new business model. And let me just shorten, very quickly give you 3 concrete examples. I have 100 cases in the book, but 3 cases that demonstrate it can be done. Here you see the CO2 from a coal-fired power station in Porto Alegre in Brazil. Thanks to the work of the professors at the university, the Federal University of Rio Grande in the south of Brazil, that CO2 is converted to spirulina algae in the existing basins of the cooling tower. When you have spirulina, you can fight malnutrition the way that President Lula wanted us to do and provided the original funding to buy the first spirulina. But we produce so much spirulina that actually we could now produce biofuels from the lipids of the algae. And the waste of the lipids is excellent to produce esters, polyesters that could be used in cosmetics. So instead of considering the CO2 as a problem, CO2 is generating 4 cash flows: food, fuel, cosmetics, and on top of that, of course, carbon credits. 35 people have now a master's degree on this field in the university and 7 doctorates. Second example, natural systems produce polymers, but polymers are mainly produced from amino acids, never from petroleum, never from starch. Now, the beauty is that silk, a natural polymer made from amino acids, can today outcompete titanium, mainly in the medical field. Now, the scientists have cracked that if you are producing silk with a mulberry worm, the cocoon, you can convert it by merely using pressure and moisture content into the silk of the golden orb spider, which is the strongest silk in the world, beats titanium. And it can be manufactured the way the silk is made by the spider. No water, only water needed, only pressure, no chemistry, no high temperature. Fritz Vollrath is the designer behind this. Gentlemen, we are responsible for using a product that is rich in titanium and stainless steel. It's called the razor. But it could be substituted by silk, thin threads of silk that are spun together and shave off the hair of your beard the way your old grass mower used to do it. Stainless steel can be replaced and titanium can be replaced by silk at half the cost of titanium today. But what is the real value of the silk? 1 ton of silk produces at the same time 9 tons of fertilizer. This is fascinating because the Chinese 5,000 years ago introduced silk not as an objective. They introduced the mulberry tree as the tree that has the capacity to grow in areas where nothing grows and regenerate topsoil. Now, that is what we need in this world. It's topsoil. So silk was the byproduct. The main product was soil regeneration. So now we can actually see how we produce silk and a razor and at the same time generate topsoil. That is how ecosystems work. Things are connected. It does function. And we could even add the enzymes of the maggots to it, which is the best wound treatment ever. And whereas the maggots would decompose within a few days, when they're encapsulated in silk, a biocompatible material, you can have a shelf life of 9 months. Wound care, taken care of by maggots, and the maggots are generated by offal, the waste of the abattoirs. Ecosystems cascade nutrients and energy all the time. We can do the same. The beauty of it is, if we were to substitute 100,000 tons of silk, the 100,000 tons of titanium with 100,000 tons of silk, we need 250 hectares of barren land. We need to supply the maggots with waste of 3,000 abattoirs, and will generate 2 million jobs. That's the economy of the future. Final example that I present to you. The power of coffee. We had a cup of coffee before we came in here, but so few of us realize that there is so much waste in coffee. How do natural systems take care of waste? Never sent to landfills and certainly never sent to incinerators. The coffee, 100% of the bean harvested by the farmer, in your cup of coffee, you only have 0.2%. Factor 500 is wasted. Factor 500. We never had a Greenpeace campaign against coffee drinkers for being so wasteful. Could we perhaps do something with this? Well, here's the solution. The waste of the coffee is converted to a substrate for shiitake mushrooms. 90% of the shiitake mushrooms today are farmed on oak trees. Save the oak forest, eat shiitake grown on coffee waste. And the waste of the shiitake mushroom substrate is an animal feed. There are leaders, women leaders around the world who are putting this into practice. But let me highlight one of them, Chido Govero. Here we are in Chipinge, in Zimbabwe, a country that suffers from the boycott of Europe and America. Coffee processing generates that waste, and all the waste is used on these coffee farms to produce food security for these women. Women empowerment in Chipinge, Zimbabwe is not exactly what they've been hearing lately. And the strategy forward is that in the United States, coffee roasters buy this special blend of coffee only from farms where women have food security. And the money generated is to train more women. We reinstall the export. The export crop is generating food security. Food security for these girls, orphan girls, is eliminating abuse. And when there's no more abuse, then there is no sex trade. And that with the purchasing power that we have. No waste, no hunger, no abuse, no sex trade, nothing less. That is the new economy. Building on what we have. Building on what we have. We have to make a difference in this world. And we can combine the free economy, the market economy, with the initiative as long as we modulate our economic system the way ecosystems work. The facts are 50 million rural jobs can be generated, 50 million rural jobs, by converting wastes on farms into food for women. And 16 million tons of food could be generated in the process. It's humbling to see what so many people have been done in the past, but we know we got to do better. How is this as a business model? Well, I inspire my conclusion with the words of Shoichiro Honda, who I had the privilege of working with in 1918. He said, "Some dream to escape reality, others dream to change reality forever." That's the task of the Club of Rome in the future. Change reality forever. Thank you. Did I meet the time?
Yeah, just on.
Well, thank you. What a terrific way to start a session whose theme is inspiration.